All right, let's get right into it. We're going to talk about one of the most famous and maybe one of the most misunderstood laws out there, HIPAA. It's a law from 1996 that's creating some really strange, paradoxical situations in the world we live in today. You've heard this, right? I mean, we've all heard this. At the pharmacy, from a doctor's office, heck, maybe even from a coworker. It's the phrase that just stops a conversation cold. It's become this go-to excuse for keeping pretty much any health-related information under wraps. So the big question is that it? Is HIPAA just this giant privacy blanket meant to block information? Well, the answer is a hard no, and that no opens up a way more interesting story about what this law was actually meant to do in the first place. To really get the mess we're in today, we have to rewind the clock. We need to go back to 1996 and figure out why the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act even came to be. Okay, this right here is the fundamental misunderstanding. Most of us think HIPAA is all about privacy, but it wasn't. Its two main goals were, first, making sure you could take your health insurance with you if you change jobs. That's the portability part. And second, cracking down on healthcare fraud. That's the accountability part. The privacy stuff we all know, that was kind of added on later to deal with the messy switch from paper files to digital records. And here's another thing that most people don't realize. HIPAA's reach is actually pretty limited. It only applies to what the law calls covered entities. So think your doctor, your hospital, your insurance company. But you know what it doesn't cover? That fitness app on your phone, your smartwatch data, or the symptoms you just typed into a search engine. All that data is basically living in a HIPAA-free zone. So let's go back to that main goal, insurance portability. How well does that actually work out for people? Well, this is where we run smack into the law's central paradox. There's this huge, painful gap between what HIPAA guarantees you legally and what you can actually afford. On paper, the law does exactly what it says it'll do. If you lose your job, HIPAA guarantees you have the legal right to keep your insurance. You have legal access. But, as you're about to see, having the legal right to do something and being able to actually pay for it are two totally different things. Let's just walk through how this plays out. So, step one, you lose your job, and with it, your income. Step two, HIPAA swoops in and says, hey, it's okay, you can keep your health plan. But then, step three, this other law called COBRA steps in to set the price. And that price? It's the entire, unsubsidized cost of your insurance, the part your employer is probably paying for you. So, how much are we talking about? You're on the hook for 100% of that premium, plus a 2% admin fee. 102% of the full cost at the exact moment you have zero income. It's a brutal calculation. And this quote it nails the absurdity of the situation. It's a perfect example of a system that works in theory, but fails in practice. You technically have the right to keep your insurance, but for so many people, it's a right they simply can't afford to use. You know, that whole portability trap is really just one symptom of a much, much bigger problem. The real issue here is that HIPAA is a law from a totally different world. It's basically been frozen in time while technology and medicine have been rocketing forward. I mean, just look at this timeline. HIPAA was born in an age of manila folders and filing cabinets. Today, we're in an era of AI that can diagnose diseases, widespread genetic testing, and constant health data streaming from our phones. The context has completely changed. Think about that for a second. Your smartphone gets a major software update every year, right? Well, this fundamental law governing our health data hasn't had a real overhaul in more than a decade. That creates this incredible mismatch where the rules just don't fit the reality anymore. So, what kind of information is slipping through the cracks? Things HIPAA was never designed to even imagine. We're talking about your genetic code, health markers that an AI can guess from how you type, your heart rate data. All of this is what you could call your digital exhaust, and most of it exists completely outside of HIPAA's old-school framework. This analogy is just perfect. It's a massive compatibility problem. The hardware of modern medicine is futuristic, but we're trying to run it on software from the 90s. And spoiler alert, it's not working very well. So if the whole system is running on outdated software, what happens next? And maybe more importantly, how can we even begin to spot these problems before they turn into full-blown crises for people? Now, here's something really interesting. Over 40% of all healthcare spending in the US is already paid for by us, the taxpayers. But even with that huge amount of public money flowing into the system, it's still not enough to prevent that affordability crisis we just talked about with COBRA. The money is there, but the system is too broken to get it where it needs to go. And that is the billion-dollar question, isn't it? The system is this tangled mess of old laws and new tech. How on earth can anyone possibly see where the next breakdown is going to happen before people get hurt? Well, this is where we can start to think about modern tools. And I want to be really clear, this is not about some magical AI that's going to come in and solve everything. It's about using technology simply as an educational tool, like a powerful magnifying glass to help us understand where the system is failing. For example, we could use AI to analyze data and predict who's most at risk of falling into that Cobra trap. It could help audit spending to find fraud. It could show us exactly how slow our policies are to react to a fast-moving virus. Basically, it can act as a diagnostic tool that shines a bright light on all the cracks in this old foundation. Again, the point here is not for technology to take over, not at all. The goal is to augment governance. It's about giving lawmakers, and us, the kind of clear, data-driven insights we need to finally understand the real impact of these ancient laws. And that really brings us to the final, crucial question we have to leave you with. The problem isn't just that HIPAA is old. The real problem is the difference in speed. How do you govern a system that evolves every single day using a rulebook that only gets updated once a decade? That's the challenge that we're all facing.